Peter, MITRE been around for a couple of years and become almost is industry de facto of how people understand different vendors and understand also attacks. But it was MITRE ATT&CK. Now you guys came up with MITRE DEFEND. What was the motivation? Tell me about the process and how you guys got to the point.
So that's a great question. And, thanks for having me on. Attack is looking at characterizing the specific behaviors that adversaries exhibit. With defend, we wanted to characterize sort of the defensive side in a structure because the space is so complex. If you think for a minute about the fact that there are thousands of vendors, each of those vendors might have dozens of products. Each of those products might perform dozens of functions. You can quickly see that you've got a high dimensional problem. And, oftentimes if you're comparing one product to another, or what's actually more common, comparing a set of problems to a set of products to another set of products, you end up comparing, hundreds of these sorts of features and facts about the product. So we felt that having a model, or is there some sort of abstraction we could build to simplify the space, to be able to think about it in a structured way. And then, of course, also relate it to the specific adversary TTPs in something like MITRE ATT&CK. That was sort of the main objective.
Do you think the MITRE DEFEND will help customers, users, companies to choose product better for the environment? And I hope it will help them also to make sure the products can connect and work together with other products in the environment.
So we're hoping that it really accelerates kind of what I'm calling knowledge discovery about these capabilities and products. Sometimes we're analyzing homegrown solutions against potential product offerings. The idea is that, can we put information in front of security architects or even other potential users to help them ask better questions of vendors, ask better questions of their local infrastructure teams, to kind of get on the same page about not only what capabilities or functions do we have now, but what should we be adding to address specific threats.
I also saw that you guys have a naming convention, detect, hardened, very similar to NIST, but not very NIST. As far as I understand, you also guys trying to help the industry with the same naming. Right now we have Gartner and Forrester that kind of lead the way with naming. Tell me more about this part, how you come up with the names.
Sure. So I'll talk about two aspects. First, to your question on the higher level issues or higher level organization we have, we call those defensive tactics. We're using the term tactic in the sense of sort of a maneuver available to someone defending a network. And we wanted to get really crisp on the language so that it was very clear what the function was looking to, say, enable, right? Is it trying to enable detection? Is it trying to enable adversary eviction? Is it trying to enable isolation? Those sorts of things. And there's a lot of high level categorization out there. And we felt like we needed to, a little more precise on what these things are specifically doing. And then as you go below that layer, we have what we call these defensive countermeasure techniques, right? And they're named in a way that's actually sort of repeatable. So there's sort of the methodology we talk about in our paper where it's very simple. There's a noun and a verb, right? There's a defensive, what we call a digital artifact, the specific thing that is being interacted with in the computer network. And then the defensive verb, what are you doing to that thing? Are you locking it down? Are you analyzing it, deleting it? And then we just apply that, in more specificity to be able to discriminate between these specific products or capabilities.
So let's try to do an example. If I'm an architect in a company, how can I use Defend to choose a product to have a better architecture? We all work from home, for example. So maybe let's touch base on endpoint security or cloud web proxy, what we call SASE right now.
So that's a good question. So right now, So the idea was there'd be a lot of different ways to use it, and you might be trying to answer different questions. So in a sense, you're starting at different points, right? But let's say you're comparing one product to another, or a collection of products to another collection of products. You might first start by sort of enumerating all of the things that they do, and then comparing them to one another. And then the next step might be like, okay, I understand these products have this specific functionality. What specific threat actions or adversary TTPs might that functionality address? So now I can complete that whole sentence. I'm able to detect these specific adversary TTPs with this defensive countermeasure function. So the idea is that now you can kind of compare these things.
So you almost have like a use cases on different use cases, not just functionality wise, but also go deeper. Not just ask, can you stop malware? You can actually go on the different use cases of type of malware and compare them better.
Right. Right. So one example, right, is something like antivirus, right? How would you compare one antivirus to another? Well, antivirus software can be extremely technically sophisticated. And so you might want to break up the specific, what we call these countermeasure techniques. What are the specific things that one is doing compared to another? Because the specific functions they perform might have performance implications in your environment, and they also might work in one circumstance but not in another. And as a security architect, that's sort of a way to approach unraveling those problems.
So for attack, you guys took a certain ATP and then, I don't want to say compare, but analyze vendors. What is the plan to do with defend?
So right now, this is something we have on our website. We're saying defend is not recommending specific countermeasures. It's not endorsing any of the references we use to describe these things. At this stage, we're basically trying to establish a common language across the community to describe what these things are doing.
Very important part, I believe so.
Right. And hopefully, there's a lot of folks out there who do make recommendations about what you should do. From our perspective, we think that if we can establish this common language, we can collect the data over time to provide the justifications for making a recommendation. Now, folks are able to use defend as it is and use their expertise to make those recommendations, which is what's happening now. But we hope that the framework also improves that data collection problem as well.
I read the document. I think the document is very impressive. You guys spent a lot of time reviewing patterns and what was there for the last number of years. And I guess my last topic I want to touch base, how people can help, how people can actually help, not to tell you what's negative, what's positive, how they can contribute.
Great. Yeah, thank you. And that's why one of the big reasons we open sourced the project. We wanted to engage the community, get feedback. So, on the website, it's defend.mitre.org. The first E is a 3. And you can go on the contribute tab, and there is an email address. You can send us contributions if you have an idea for a new technique. If you include a public reference that says, hey, this is some evidence that there's something out there that does this. Or if you find problems, one of the things, we're looking to improve is some of the accuracy in the inferencing over what we call our knowledge graph. And so if you find problems there, you can make recommendations as well.
Awesome. Peter, thank you very much. It was my pleasure. And I have a feeling we'll talk again.
Excellent. Great to meet you. Thank you for having me on.